and welcome to Text Gathering Guide. So on this video today we are going to go through generals and pairings, and to start this video off we're going to go with the main generals, and we're going to go with the main general you should be looking at getting first for starting to gather, or if you're on a new server. So Constance is the best starter gatherer. Her main skill gives you 20% extra resources from gathering, which if you're gathering on a level 16 tile, the full tile will give you an extra 2 million resources. She also has troop load increased by 20%, so you will need to send less troops, which will help if you're on a volatile server, or if you're on a new server, you need less troops to go and gather with. She does have 2 specialties, which will help. So she has her first one, which obviously specialties, just before I go forward, do cost runestones and gems, and lots of them. So it does mean investment, but lots of these generals do have these, where these are great ways to get extra buffs and they will pay you back tenfold. So for Constance, you have Overgrowth, which will give, once maxed out, an extra 20% from lumber spots. So it is wood specific, but it will give you an extra 20% on top of the 20% you're getting from her main skill. Her second one is Jungle, which once maxed out completely with all 5 of these, will give you 10% gathering speed. And her third one is Range Troop Ares, which isn't worth the investment, but gives you range troop buffs. So that is Constance, who is the de facto best beginner general to get, and the reason for that is because she is also a purple general and available in the tavern, which means she is a lot easier to get than the next general we're going to talk about, which is Queen Jindiok. So with Queen Jindiok, her main skill gives you an extra 40% resources from your gathering spots. But also she has the additional, well, I say additional, the other part of her ability gives you 20% resources from your gathering spot. Now just to make sure, the 40% and the 20% don't add up, they are for 2 separate tiles. 40% is for regular world tiles, 20% is for your resource tile that you can build on your Alliance Hive. Now, with Jindiok, as she is a gold general, she is more difficult to get in the tavern, but she does have the red stars that you can get. So the first one is always a great one to get once you have 1 Jindiok for each of your marches, which is an extra 50% gathering speed. And then the next 2 that you want to get is the 4-star and the 5-star, which will be very heavy in cost. But once you get to the end of being able to do the cheaper, easier things, are a nice addition, because it gives you 10 and 15% resource gathering for your Jindiok. Now she also has specialties as well, and being a gold general, she has 4 specialties. So the first one is ground troop defense, which is just ground troop stats, probably not worth investing in. She also has jungle, which is 10% when maxed out completely, which is a great investment. She has King's Ambition, which again, it's troop death into troop soul rate in the main city. You're not going to be using her in a PvP setting, not high in the investment. However, for her 4th one, you will need the other 3 maxed out for it, so you will have to invest in them eventually. But this will give you an extra 20% resources from gathering, and that will work on top of her main skill, so you will be getting 60%, which is significant. However, it is the final runestone, which is the rarest and most expensive one, but once you're at the point of upgrading for this, or if you want to do it early on to start getting the dividends back early, it is a great investment for your gathering. So those are the 2 main gatherers that you want. However, they're both going to need their assistants. So firstly, we're going to look at the farming assistant, which I'm going to butcher the name, and I am sorry. is Shirimizu Yoshihiro. So, his main skill gives you an extra 30% resources from gathering farms, and also a flat 10% resource gathering speed. So he makes out for a good universal for the 10% gathering speed, but he is a food specialist. His specialties do also give an extra 20% resources from food spots. His second one is weight loading, which is extra troop load, probably not worth the investment. And siege machine areas, which again, probably not worth the investment, because if you're sending siege out and they get hit or die while gathering from being hit by another player, they do cost gems to recover. So Yoshihiro is without a doubt the best gatherer for gathering food. So moving on to the next general, we're going to look at Gaius Marius, who is the specialist for ore. So his main skill gives a increased ore gathering speed of 30%, but he also for wood and stone gives an extra 15%, which is also without any investment. So he's a very good general for low investment, great returns. He also has some specialties of smelting, which will give an extra 20% gathering speed for ore. He has the weight load, and he also has ground troop areas. So once again, these two final ones, probably not worth the investment at all. There are much better places to spend those gemstones and gems. But that first one, the smelting, is definitely a good one to get, as it will increase the speed that you can gather at. So we've got the food general and the ore general. Now, I would say Gaius Marius is the best stone general, unless you're willing to do a bit of investment. And if you are, from the Wheel of Fortune, which is in the tavern, you can get Princess Lucy. So Princess Lucy gives you an extra 15% gathering speed, which is the same as Gaius will. However, she will also give you an extra 10% through her specialty jungle. Her first specialty is ground troop defense, not worth the investment, and ground troop areas, probably not worth the investment. But jungle will give you an extra 10%, so she will be giving an extra 25% gathering speed, which is 10% higher than Gaius's. But if you're starting out or don't have the runestones available to you, definitely stick with Gaius Marius. Now, the last one is the Wood General, and if you are using Constance, I would say once again Gaius Marius. However, if you're using Queen Jindiok, Constance the First actually makes a surprisingly good Wood General. However, her main ability does not work with Queen Jindiok. This will be greyed out, and you cannot use it. However, in her specialties, with a bit of investment, you can get up to, as we said, 20% gathering, lumber gathering bonus from tiles, and she has jungle. So with investment, she is by far a great assistant for wood gathering for Queen Jindiok. So we've gone through the general pairings there, and I'm going to go through one more general pairing, which is an experimental one, hasn't been tested out yet, but looks to be a very good one for your stone and ore gathering. And this will be Amir Timur. He is a gold general, so he will be more difficult to get in the tavern. However, he is very unique. So, looking at his main skill, he is increased troop load by 100%, which is nice, but not very good for gathering. But it's in the red stars which you see the difference. So you get 15% extra gathering speed. He's got troop load march speed for a second one, march size. He's then got resource gathering speed like Jindiok would. And in the final one, extra resources from resource spots plus 15%. So he will give an extra 1.5 million resources every time you clear a level 16 tile. However, this does require an awful lot of investment in Blood of Ares, gems trying to find him in the tavern. But when it comes to ore and stone, you do not have any generals that pair with Jindyok with extra resources from gathering. They do have gathering speed, but no resources from gathering. However, if you are investing red stars into him like this, you will want him as your main general, because red stars do not work on assistants. So just bear that in mind, that if you can pick them up on the way, he might be good to get, but he will not work with Jindyok on main and him on secondary. Now, he does have some specialties, but the only one that it will help is the second one. So the first one is ground troop assault, just ground troop stats. Second one is jungle, so he does get an extra 10% from his specialties. Then we go back to King's Ambition, which is troop death into soul. And then his final one is troop load and march speed. So the only one I would suggest investing into is jungle. But just remember, 5 red stars is no easy task, and it will be very difficult. But him, paired with Queen Jindyok as your secondary, will give you the biggest return from resources on ore and stone tiles. But for food you have Yoshihiro, and for wood you have Constance the First, which, even though they use rune stones, are much less of an investment than trying to get 5 red stars of this general. So those are the pairings that we have gone through, and those are the best generals that you can find for those specific tasks. So we have, as we go through, Constance is the best for starting out. Then we upgrade her to Jindyok. Constance then can move into secondary for wood. We then have Yoshihiro as the best for food gathering assistant, and Gaius Marius as the best all-rounder for the ore, wood and stone with low investment. And thank you very much, and I hope you've enjoyed the video.